Done.
I just wanted to check. I was like, and just in case, you started to like, I don't know, pick lettuce from your teeth or something. I'm like, we're live. So excited to have you here, Lou. I honestly feel like, this is a little bit gushy, but I feel like you're a real, like, if there's an auntie or sister energy that I have when I'm around you, like I know that if I rang you and said, oh my God, Lou, something's happened, you would literally drive from your house in Tauranga and you'd come to get me. Like, that's what I feel when I'm around you. So it's really beautiful. So I appreciate you being here today.
I'm really excited. Thank you for having me, and thank you for such beautiful words.
I know. I was like, oh no, these weird emotions coming out. What's happening? No, but that's what I love about these shows, is connecting to current clients and past clients and going, hey, this is what I feel about you. And I know that when you serve your clients, that you really give your all. So anyone listening to the show today, Louise really gives a shit when she's with you. So she's always got your back. Anyway, enough of that stuff. Everyone, welcome to the Real Highlight Reels of Women in Business. You guys know that I love doing these shows because I care that you get to see behind the curtains or in the engine rooms of women who are just like us. Because for me, I care that you're not isolated with what you feel and what you're going through, because more often or not, we're all going through it or we've been through it. So, Lou, that horrendous question of, so Lou, tell us what you do. That elevator pitch.
So I'm a business strategist and digital marketing coach. I work with e-commerce business owners. I help them scale their businesses to 5K revenue months using Facebook. I know. So, so I have been coaching now for around 10 years, I think. 5 years of that, or 4 to 5 years of that, was roughly in corporate, and then I went out on my own in 2016, which we will hear all about, I'm sure.
Yes. So what I love and want to congratulate you on is the beautiful niche in which you serve. So e-commerce, selling products or anything that has a store on a website. Louise has, been a journey to come to this end point where there's, where you've stayed here to serve and being that expert in that area. So what I want to be able to talk about for the audience, because I think there's going to be so many people who are going to resonate with the journey that's here. Yeah. So I really want you to share, like, all the pivots. Like, what did it start as and how did it get to this?
So originally it started as I was involved in a startup network marketing business in travel. So I worked in travel and then I got involved in a network marketing business in the same industry. Had some, started growing my team. There was a cross of values. Obviously I couldn't work for a major travel company and talk about how great it was to be there every day whilst building a business in the same industry outside of it. So I had to make a choice. Which one was I going to do? And so ultimately I went, fuck it. Took a great big leap and decided to, I guess, throw the dice and see what happened. So it started there, and 48 hours later that went. The first pivot came.
And that's refreshing to know, everyone, isn't it? That, that can actually happen.
I was kind of faced with a decision, do I stay? Do I go? Have I made the right choice? Have I not? What am I going to do? And, and it was really hard. I had worked for a company for, 9 years, climbed the ladder, full of ego, walking out the door, see you later, bitches. I'm off to live my best life on the beach. And 48 hours later, it's like, oh my God, I actually have to eat humble pie here and admit that I've made the wrong choice. And I've essentially failed 48 hours into my entrepreneurial journey.
Tell us about that. What happened? What was it that kind of made you, like, I could almost see you walking out of your corporate job, flipping some birds, and then the next minute, like, tripping over your heels and falling on your face. Like, that's literally what it sounds like. So what happened?
I think at the end of the day, some information came to light about the business that wasn't what I kind of thought it was. It was startup. It was, it was a huge risk. It was basically, I'd been thinking about doing my own thing and leaving, but, having all that safety and security. And then this business, I call it the gigantic carrot that finally got me to leave. And, there was just a values mismatch.
Yeah.
And yeah, like ultimately, I guess I didn't feel like I was working, I hadn't surrounded myself with the right people.
Yeah.
And I either tried to do it all by myself, which, as you learn in business, is impossible to do, or I ate humble pie and went, what's next? And what is in alignment with my values? And let's start that wheel and, and see what happens.
Okay, so what was next after that? Like, and I can imagine that'd be quite hard when you're like, I've made this decision. It would have been starting to kind of poke holes in some confidence and doubt with, actually, I made this really big decision and it wasn't the right one. What came next and how did you make that decision?
I think, well, originally I guess actually stopped. I'd made a lot of really big decisions very quickly.
Yeah, right.
And, my naive younger self walked around with rose-tinted glasses on.
Bless her. Bless her. We can all relate.
She still exists, but probably not to that extent. And, and I actually just had to stop and breathe and think and sleep. I was working horrendous. I'd got into the 24/7 hustle mentality. I was literally working 24 hours a day and thought I was so proud of it. I was like, yes, I'm still awake 3 days later. Like, God.
Gary B would be so proud of you right now that you went to your eyeballs bled.
Yeah. No one makes good decisions on no sleep. So so I was like, right, I actually literally can't do anything else. My internal body was screaming at me. So I just really had to trust, I put a lot of faith in myself and that, that answers would come to me if I just sat still and started questioning.
Oh, I love that.
What had happened and why it had happened. And I was now, I guess, given a really, I saw it as an amazing opportunity to say, well, if you don't want to be over here anymore, then where do you want to be? And I had been coaching and I went and did some further, NLP study just in my time off, which really, I guess, confirmed how much I really loved helping people.
Yeah.
And went, well, how do I combine my knowledge of retail, my business strategist and analytic brain with coaching and helping people and digital marketing? I love social media. I'm obsessed in these platforms. So how do I monetize these platforms? How do I combine all of this to be able to, to actually do what it is that I want to do in my life? And, and I guess I started that journey of, insanity.
I know someone said, a client said to me, oh man, there's some real hard bits of business at the moment. I'm like, dude, it's the biggest personal development you'll ever go on. But what I admire about you is you've always wanted to go in and do the inner work. You've always wanted to go in and go, okay, so why isn't this working for me? Why are there some emotions around it? What are some of my money blocks, belief blocks, whatever? And you've always gone in really courageously, even if it's been painful, as you've gone in and karate chopped them, which is amazing.
As well, like from that is like you've got two choices, right? You either sit in the shit and work it out, or you walk away and it's going to come up somewhere else anyway.
Yeah.
So if I went, okay, well, I'm going to go back to my job. It's now blaringly obvious to me I don't want to be there and I'm not happy and I'm like fighting against my integrity because I'm too shit scared to move forward and deal with the stuff that I guess is coming up. And business is like that every freaking day. It's like, right, I want to run and hide and I don't want to deal with this. And it's like, well, you can hide, but it's going to come back and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until you decide to deal with it. So pick your pain.
Yeah, which one?
Yeah.
Which, so you've had changes with this, like we all have, right? If I took all my clients, we'd all go back and we could see that we've had lots of what I call refinements. This is another word than stupid pivot, or shit, number one's not working, holy shit, version 2 is even worse. okay, version 3, stop, toes down, version 4 looks completely different from version 1, right? Complete turnarounds. While you haven't had complete turnarounds, as in when I first met you and I saw you on the She Owns It, I was just like, who is this gutsy, confident, freaking Aussie chick? Just threw that in there. You know, has this amazing confidence, and you had that awesome live series yourself running and some great webinars. From there, just share some of your refinements of your business. I think that's really going to help people to know that it's okay to make those changes.
So I must have been in business for what, 3.5 years probably before we started working together.
Yeah.
And you know, and I guess I'd gone out and I'd invested in personal development and programs and whatever, and you know, I guess I wasn't running an unsuccessful business. I had great clients, I was making money, but fundamentally one of the biggest problems was I didn't know who I was in that business.
Yeah, that was so interesting to discuss. Hey, I remember that.
Yes, like I probably will never forget the day when I messaged you and said, oh, Nat, this is what I do. And funnily enough, this is what all my branding says. Like I help people with digital marketing and it's everywhere. I talk about it everywhere. You were like, just out of curiosity, what did you think you did? Like I had no connection to how I was actually helping people. And one of the reasons for that was likely, well, you know, the big fat imposter syndrome was hanging around. And I was just comparing myself left, right, and center to, you know, to all of the gurus and the experts or the people that I'd learned things from or social media. And so really it was like, well, who am I to claim that I'm an expert in this space when I'm self-taught in the digital marketing world? And I have learned tips and tricks off other people. I've come up with some strategies by myself to realize that everyone else already knew that strategy. You know, so I was really, I guess, finding myself and who I wanted to be in my business and how I really wanted to show up and help people. I was very generalist. Like I knew everything. I was a jack of all trades, but an expert at nothing. Because I wasn't willing to say, this is what I do and this is who I am.
I actually love it because for me, that is one of the blind spots of a perfectionist. And it's come up a few times with my clients, right? Because I love helping perfectionists, is that they're the last ones to catch up what we've all known.
Yes.
You know, we're like, yeah, dude, we knew you were expert in this. If you had just fucking realized that, because you're right, it's the imposter. But what can happen with the perfectionist, I think over time, and they're trying to work that out, is they then scope everywhere. They go out of their lanes. They become generalists, right? Because they think, oh, I need to know all this stuff. I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. And then when they finally catch up with themselves, they're like, oh, guys, I want to be an expert in this. And we're just like, yeah, okay, mate, you're way behind yourself.
You're already doing that. Oh, all right.
So what made you want to change into you know, niching into that e-commerce space and then niching into being a Facebook platform as opposed to the other 100 platforms you could have?
So I'll start with the last question first.
Yeah.
I love Facebook. I'm obsessed in it. I love it because it's a community-based platform and its main focus is building community, and it always will. You know, Facebook groups are a really big feature of the platform. No other platform has that.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like hubs of like-minded people getting together in community to hopefully support each other. And it's really in alignment with who I am. I love building communities and nurturing and, you know, and helping and giving value and answering questions while also being able to, you know, to showcase who I am and what I do at the same time. So I see them like networking events, only you get to be the one-on-one chatter and you get to be the guest speaker. So yeah, I can talk about Facebook all day long, but I won't. So I chose that platform mainly for that. I also chose it because there are a lot of people out there who love all the other platforms.
Yes.
And I was like, you know what? Facebook needs a bloody champion too. And I'm going to go against everyone and swim the other way and actually go back to the origin and talk about how powerful this platform is, because whilst all the bells and whistles are being told about, you know, you need to be on Instagram, Reels are the greatest thing, or TikTok or Clubhouse or whatever, they're just, a lot of them are smoke and mirrors. It's like, just go back to basics, build connection with people, and you build a business.
Yeah, I love that. It's just when we strip it back to simplicity, it's just that big believer on your offer and your audience should stand alone without the social media.
Yes.
I love that you've chosen a platform that you're really passionate about. So, you could go on as an expert on any podcast or series like this, and you could just talk. You don't have to go and feed that perfectionist and go, okay, I've got to prepare what I'm going to say. Because you love it and know it, you're going to answer any question that you need, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm obsessed in the platform. And then what was my other question? Why did I go into e-commerce?
Yeah. How did you start to just narrow in who you wanted to work with? Apart from being like...
I was working with everyone, services and e-com.
Yeah.
Mainly a lot of service-based business owners, coaches, consultants, etc.
Yeah.
It was actually really funny when I first attracted my first e-com business owners. I gave away a couple of coaching packages to a charity in Australia when I was still living over there. And the winners of these silent auctions were two product-based businesses. And I was like, it's really odd that they would bid on working with me when I think even my branding might have been aligned to services at the time. I don't know. But I just loved it. And I learned along the way, as I attracted more and more, the strategies are essentially the same. They just dressed up in different clothing. So it wasn't like I had to learn. It was like, it was like, right, this is very interesting. You just have to tweak it. And, one-on-one services is a, probably higher conversion. You can have lesser numbers coming through with high conversion. E-commerce, the biggest difference is it's the opposite. High numbers, low conversion. So how do we tweak the same strategies to get the outcome that we're looking for based on the business? I won't lie, another reason why I decided to focus more on the retail or the e-commerce space was, I have been through a lot of my own stuff in my own personal journey, and, attracting really big heart-centered people who have been through their own stuff and they want to help people as well. I kind of got to a point where I felt like I was reliving my own experience over and over and over.
Such a powerful point. I'm so pleased you put that up.
And I was like, if I'm ever going to move forward from experiencing, the trauma that I have been through and move on with my life, I can't keep reliving it through other people. And so, it was like, well, is that really a reason to shift issues or focus on one? And I had to for my own mental health and my own sanity.
Yeah. I love the boundaries around that. When we talk about if you're going to do something and it doesn't lift you up and give you energy, then you have to start looking at it and the alignment in it. And that's a really brave thing to do, because of course part of you's like, but I want to help those people. Yes. But again, sometimes it can be where it's just a detriment to that person. So I love that you did that.
And it's so relatable. I naturally want to help people get to where I've been, who have been through similar situations that I have been through. And I'm sure when I first started out, I was more like, I just need to save these people. And over my journey, kind of let go of taking hold of so much responsibility.
Yeah.
But I really had to make a big call in my decision to, one, own the space I was going into without what do you know, all the stuff that goes with it, and back myself in that space. But also, I guess make a decision based on my life of who I wanted to help and how that affected me. Whilst, and I let go of a lot of my one-on-one clients when I made that decision, which was horrendous. It was like I broke up with 15 people in one hit.
It wasn't rounded that. I mean, we were like, okay, we're going to break up with all these people.
It was heartbreaking, and it was so emotionally draining, and it was horrendous. And I'm so lucky that they all understood that, I was taking a different direction in my business, and they supported that. But I guess it was a scary decision, putting me first in my business, probably for the first time in a long time.
That doesn't actually need a round of applause, because so many of us don't do that early enough. When we do, we're outwardly just giving all the time, and we forget to actually reverse engineer that back. So I'm just proud of you for sticking to that, and then sticking to your expert status where you sit and just holding that space. I think it's It's powerful. You and
I get to look at people's products all day long.
I mean, you just buy them all.
Yes, and hide all my money. Like, I just think I'm the luckiest person. I get to look at all these wonderful products and how they help people or what desires they have. And, you know, and it's like, well, you need to go buy that. I'm like a directory of buying things.
I'm the same. Like, I always end up buying my clients' stuff. I'm like, damn, that's so good. I'm going to buy that.
I know. I mean, that's how you know you're a really good marketer, is when you can sell other people.
Hey, I want to talk about something that you and I have shared in common, and where you and I sing from the same hymn sheet on many things, but this one in particular is the old falling for social media highlight reels, that if you just keep putting money down the old FB advertising, it's going to be a magic wand and spit out, you know, six figures. Tell us about that. We've probably spent, I think you spent more than me on Facebook advertising, but you know, I want you to share that story, because I'd love to know. That story is really powerful, because when someone comes to work with you now, they can fundamentally understand that you're not going to let them fall for that BS either, because we're all just led that way, right?
I actually lose customers and clients because of my belief around it. So when I started my coaching business, you know, 2016, Facebook ads were huge. Like, they're huge now, but they were like, you know, what reels are today. They are the be all end all of business. And if you weren't using Facebook ads, you weren't going to be lying on the beach drinking pina coladas.
Did you ever get to lie on the beach and have pina coladas?
No, still working towards it. Well, actually, I've obviously done that on holidays, but I'm still waiting to hear the ching, 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 ching.
Yeah, same. You and me, both.
So I kind of went, well, I know what I want. I know that I want to help people. I didn't know who I wanted to help, but I knew I wanted to keep coaching, and I knew I wanted to do it online. And so former Louise Stephens, when she left corporate, she was in a lot of debt and had slowly, you know, been working her way out of that hole. But she went, okay, well, I don't have any money to get help in Facebook advertising. I wasn't stupid enough to not think I needed help to do it. So I needed to pay for help, and I obviously needed to pay for the ads.
Yeah.
And so I remember I invested 20K into a mastermind, which was essentially all around Facebook ads, brand new startup, didn't even have a business name. Then went, I'm going to go and invest all my money into things, and I don't even know who I'm going to help. And how I paid for that was by couch surfing and spare room hopping, and I removed a house out of my life, so I didn't have to pay for rent and bills, etc., so that I could essentially pay Facebook to bring me the 7-figure lifestyle in 12 months.
Dude, there's some dedication, and then there's like, what the hell?
Yeah. People ask me now if I would repeat. I'm like, no. And this is why I'm so passionate about, you know, why, you know, Facebook ads are very powerful, but they're not powerful when you're just starting out and you've got no idea what you're doing. So I invested 20 grand to learn how to do it. I launched 68 ad campaigns, like literally one per week. When I get in
the zone,
you know, I am like a bull at a gate. So like one per week of launching these lead magnets to be able to get email addresses and phone numbers to be able to contact people and offer free sessions and what have you. This is when I was very much focused on service-based businesses. That cost me $6,500, nearly $7,000 without seeing a cent of my return. Like it wasn't until the 69th ad that I put out
69th, I like that,
coming in. So I think that took about 9 months, maybe roughly. So that was really, you would think, you know, I would be like celebrating and that was the best thing that had ever happened in my life. And I then went, who in their right mind is going to make themselves homeless, invest 20 grand and then another almost 10 grand into their business in order to grow it? Like, you know, I'd been hearing about all of these rag to riches stories, you know, starting businesses from garages and, you know, and I was like, well, if they're going to do it that way, I'm going to do it too. And I totally bought into that. And then I kind of stopped and I was like, this is not normal behavior. Normal people and why would I want to help these poor homeless people grow businesses in this way? And that was actually when I stopped and I was in a Facebook group and I saw people talking about Facebook ads and how hard they were. I said, oh, I've actually just been through this experience. This has been my journey. I'm now attracting, getting email addresses. If I put together a free guide of of the steps, would people want it? 500 people responded.
Wow.
For free. It didn't cost me nearly $30,000 for that. And there I was sitting going, and this is probably another big reason why I love Facebook. I was like, I can't believe I've just been over here when I could have been building relationships with people, looking at what their problems are and actually trying to solve that instead of thinking money would solve my problem. Now, absolutely, I've built a more established business. We've got retargeting ads so that we can, put ads in front of a warm audience and then, basically convert higher with less money. But then cold ads, you're still going to be investing a lot of money in order to, warm an audience up. It doesn't happen overnight. Whereas, my goal for my first 12 months through Facebook ads was to have a $500,000 business.
Yeah. I'm so pleased you've said that, because I said this to a client the other day and she was like, oh, I'm so deflated. I'm like, no, don't be deflated. I want you to hear the truth. Yeah. She's like, but why does it work for some people? I'm like, because they're probably putting down tens of thousands of dollars. And it's a little bit like gambling. At some stage, something's going to stick. However, there are better ways to do it. But what I want to know from you, though, Louise, why do you think it does work for some people where they can seem to just come out the gate and hit what we call that Facebook kind of jackpot? Is it that it's not true? We don't hear the full story. Like, what is that?
Well, based on my experience from people that I've spoken to who have been very successful straight off the bat, they have a very good understanding of who it is that they're marketing and who they're very clear on their target audience and how
they've got a lot of that foundation testing done.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've also had, prior experience in either different businesses or, or in form of, their background is massive. They're not just straight out of, a corporate job knowing nothing.
Yeah.
They've got huge amounts of experience to kind of back them with money to do it. And yes, high money. Like a lot of my friends do a lot of cold marketing. They invest high money for high products, so it works itself out. But yeah, I haven't heard of anyone recently that had that really big win straight out of the bat. I think it just gets harder and harder. Competition, it's getting more and more expensive. With the iOS or whatever update coming through and probably Android following suit, it will get harder again. So I would just say that, a lot of it is not real, or they've been around for a while, or they've got some form of prior knowledge going into that.
So, the journey that you had to go on, spending lots of money, home, all this stuff, I'm a firm believer, because I've had to go through in my own journey, that has high achievers and, perfectionists. We want to not have the journey. We want to go from non-business apprenticeship straight into 6-7 figures, right? So we have to go on this journey. Where is this fast track? So I love that you've shared your journey, that you had to have that journey. As much as it sucked, you had to have it to get you to where you are now. So share with us where you are now. I know you've got this really cool flagship program. So tell us about it.
Yes, so I, at the start or end of last year, start of this year, formulated my program. So it's 12 months. It's called the FB Revolution. Where I help e-com business owners scale their businesses to 5K revenue months using Facebook.
What I love about that is there's no BS with I'm going to get you to 30,000. I love that you keep it real. Really love that.
Well, you know what? Realistically, if you're in a newer business or you're not making profit, I could have been my former coach of 5 years ago and said, yes, you can totally make $500,000 in your first 12 months. That's crap. It is utter bullshit. Not possible, especially when people are still in jobs or they've got families, or I'm a really big one on life balance. So
yes, you do that well.
Skyrocket very quickly if you are Gary Vee and you go all in and that is all you want to do with your life, and you have a massive team around you to help you do it. It's more than likely possible. But if you want to have a life, family, hobbies, sanity, you have to have some realistic expectations. And I've learned over my journey around a lot of expectations and setting them. And it's realistic to be able to scale a business to 5K months over the space of 12 months by using key strategies to kind of help you get there.
Love that. So well done.
And so I obviously love it, and it helps people transition from their jobs. Like, that's a number that if you're not quite out of your job yet, at least you're on your way, or you can use that money to actually reinvest back into paid ads so that it's less time and then you're investing money. Like, there's so many benefits around that number.
Okay. I love asking my guests these next two questions. Top tip for a brand new startup, because my audience has a spectrum from startup to teams 15 years. So we've got a large audience, which is awesome. Yeah. But they're all high achieving perfectionists. Anyway, what's the top tip for a startup? What do you want to be like? Hey, this.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Given that to prepare earlier.
No.
What would be my top tip? On a strategic level, like, analyze your ideal customer or client until I still analyze them.
Same.
Like, every day, who am I talking to? What is their problem today? And how do I connect with that person? It's not a one-off thing. Like, it is, as we go on our journey, our customers go on the journey with us, and we're not that person anymore. So I would say just dedicate so much time to getting to know that. It's actually one of the key challenges or problems I see in most, early or business, especially that I work with. That's that's their key problem. So
100% love that. I agree with that. Yeah. So I annoyingly harp on, as you remember, to my clients, what's their pain though? Who are they?
Yes.
I love that. Okay, so what about someone who's like, 2 or 3 years in, when you're in that 2 or 3 year and it's feeling hard, you're feeling like you're doing all these things and you feel like it's just not moving. What do you want to say to them?
I think that, I still experience this now, 5 years on, is that you have to back yourself, right?
Yes.
Like, we can go back to jobs, or I say to you, I'm going to go get a housemate. Like, we can start selling all effort, we can focus on all the things that aren't going to go right. But we can also go, you know what, if I just take this one breath at a time or one day at a time, and I just take the action that I've set for myself, then I have to believe that I've got this and that it's going to work out.
Yeah, nice.
Look for the evidence that it does, because every time it works out, we've shed ourselves along the journey every day of business. Like, oh my God, what will people think of me? What if no one wants any?
Yeah.
Like, they're just different problems dressed up in different clothes. But you just really have to, to focus on the good and believe. You just have to believe.
I love that you've said that, because
you're not doing anything, you're not manifesting nothing out of thin air. You have to do the work.
It's so important, isn't it? Because like you just said, that you and I, or the people who are ahead of us or doing the stuff that we want to be doing, they're doing it regardless to the fear and the doubt and the imposter. And that's that point, isn't it, of that success mindset of we're doing it anyway. Because people will look at us and be like, oh, you're extrovert personalities, or you put yourself out there. It's like, yeah, that doesn't mean I'm not shitting myself over there, but I'm just doing it instead of.
And something will always come up. Like, a prime example is I didn't pay my GST bill in time. So bang, there you go, there's a fine. One, I'm like, I don't want to give the IRD extra money. That money hasn't been accounted for in a magical bank balance. I've just heavily pivoted my business and rebuilding. And, it's like, well, I can either sit here and rock back and forth and whatever, or I can go, cool, I need to take some deep breaths, very funny, great lesson. My accountant is now going to be handling my GST.
Yeah, well done.
Well, now I need to focus on actually what I'm going to do to be able to bring that in, to be able to pay for it.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's just always going to be things that come along and go, here you go, deal with this, deal with that. They don't go away. And if we're waiting for them to disappear and to live that, you know, free and never problem-free life, it doesn't exist. And I saw a graph the other day, the higher, you know, the more success you have, the more risk you're taking and the scarier it gets.
Yeah,
so
totally.
Scared down here, imagine what it will be, you know, further. It's like the building gets higher and higher and higher, and you look further and further down. So I guess I constantly think about that. It's like, well, just preparing you for the next thing.
Totally is though. It's such great insight. Thank you so much for your time, babe. Loved your energy, loved having you on and what you had to share. I know that so many people are going to get loads out of this, so appreciate you. Appreciate the audience. We'd love to know what you think of the show as more and more of these keep coming, to showing you the real highlight reels, which is what we know is so important, right? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.